I was sitting with my kids the other day in the living room, and Andrew, our 7-year-old son, he just randomly out of nowhere, he said, "I want to follow someone." And so I perked up because I'm getting ready this week to talk about when Jesus in the book of Luke calls Matthew, the tax collector, to follow him. Jesus goes to Matthew and says, "Matthew, follow me." And Matthew gets up, leaves his tax booth, leaves everything, his livelihood, his whole way of life behind to follow Jesus. And so when Andrew said the other day, "I want to follow someone," I was like, "What do you mean you want to follow someone?" And he's like, "Well, I don't know, like you and Mom and Malachi, like you always talk about following people." And so I kind of laughed because he was talking about Instagram. On Instagram, when you follow someone, it means you click on their name and you become their follower. So you get to see all the pictures they post and the things that they post. And so that's a very different thing than what Jesus was talking about when he said to Matthew, "Follow me." So I had this little conversation with Andrew about what Jesus means by follow me. And so this week I'm excited to really get into this story where Jesus calls Matthew, this tax collector, to follow him. But it's really interesting because in the book of Luke, Jesus actually has quite a few interactions with tax collectors, and not all of them do the same thing in response to Jesus. So earlier, actually before Jesus meets Matthew, when John the Baptist was preaching, a group of tax collectors came up to him and said, "We've repented, we've turned away from our sins, so what do we do now?" And they were asking about their job as tax collectors, which traditionally in this time was known to be a really dishonest job. Tax collectors were hated people. And John the Baptist just told them, "Don't collect any more than you're supposed to." And then after the story with Jesus in Matthew, Jesus meets Zacchaeus, and Zacchaeus has this incredible encounter with Jesus. And after his encounter with Jesus, he says, "I'm going to pay back anybody that I've ripped off 4 times the amount, and I'm going to give half of my possessions to the poor." And so not all of the tax collectors that we see in the book of Luke leave their job as tax collectors to follow Jesus, but Matthew does. And so what's going on there? At the end of the story in Luke chapter 5, 27 through 32, Jesus ends by using a word called repentance. And this comes from the Greek word metanoia. And what metanoia means, repentance, it means there's a change of mind happens, which means there's a change of lifestyle. So if we're going to follow Jesus, our mindset changes, which means our lifestyle changes. In all 3 of the examples I gave, all tax collectors that had an encounter with Jesus, something changed. Not all of them necessarily left their tax booth, but all of them had a change of mind, which led to a change in lifestyle. And so the question I want to ask you today is, are you following Jesus? Have you had the kind of encounter with Jesus where your mind has been changed and it's led to a change in lifestyle and a change in behavior?